It's the middle of the night, and I just stayed up watching this Adepticon preview, and it's actually kind of, I'm pretty happy overall with everything that they showed off, and I thought I would just shoot a quick video, kind of with my various takes on this stuff. First off, of course, the leak that they were hyping the most was the reveal of the Lionel Johnson. He is, a really great looking kid. I don't love the face. People are saying, he's supposed to look old. I just don't. It just doesn't really work for me. Like, the features just aren't quite there for me. But the armor is on point. The Emperor's shield is fantastic. This is the Watchers in the Dark are great. They look so much smaller next to him. Yeah, no, I'm really stoked about this particular model, and I really like that he has alternate helmet options. The hooded head really is working for me for whatever reason. But particularly the hooded head with the helm on is just, yeah, I might have to get that. I mean, I've got a little Dark Angels force left over. I played Dark Angels for a while. I had a pretty big collection. I think I probably had 3,000 or so points worth, but I wound up selling them off when I kind of was slimming down and getting rid of stuff that I didn't want to repaint. And so I've got a few Dark Angels, kind of lined up, but maybe throwing in a Terminator squad wouldn't be a bad call with them. I don't know. And then for Age of Sigmar, the new Seraphon are immaculate. I mean, these kits look fantastic. Lizardmen have always had kind of a cool aesthetic. I mean, they're very kind of silly and they're fun. And these, I feel kind of bridge that gap to be just a little bit more kind of serious, while still being that kind of signature Lizardman style. And I think that these will go great with the the kind of big bugs, or not big bugs, big dinos that they already have. And yeah, I'm not going to play Lizardmen. I'm not building another actual army scale Age of Sigmar force, but I really like these, and these could be really fun for Ash Wastes. I mean, imagine this thing is really big. You could make a great custom set of rules to represent this behemoth. And of course, they showed off some new color schemes, which look lovely. And the Croxagore make me want new Minotaurs so badly. GW now could actually handle it, I feel like, after seeing the various, kind of beast-like characters that all just got added to Slaves of Darkness. Come on. Minotaurs are such an alley-oop, but, there's a new OCR Bone Reaper guy. I don't really get into these guys too much, but they're very well done, and they do match some of the aesthetics from the kind of the other kits out there. One of the Mortarks, I think, looks a lot like this, so I get it, but I just don't. It doesn't quite work for me. Meanwhile, this absolutely works for me. The bestial woodswoman vampire with the swarm of bats. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get that model. So I don't think I'm ever going to actually fully finish my Soulblight Gravelords as an army, but I'm probably gonna pick up that Warcry box when that comes out separately, because I can get down with kind of a vampire Ronin kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, look at that. The swarm of bats looks fantastic. I'm very excited to grab her. Oh, and I completely forgot about this. These guys are great. So the new Age of Sigmar, Cities of Sigmar people, these are going to be fantastic for Necromunda conversions. You just slap different heads and arms on these guys, and they're going to be fantastic for some nobles, ostentatious household guard. The details on these, I think they did a really great job kind of taking, existing kind of what you expect out of human infantry unit, and just really nailing the details, and not going too over the top even for these guys' station. I like it a lot. Yeah, they're going to do a bunch of battle tomes this year, so that's cool. Autumn is when we'll see the Cities of Sigmar stuff. Yeah, pretty cool. This was I was squealing how excited I am to have Beastmen versus Votann. I mean, Votann is awesome, so I'm into it. But Beastmen properly, a full proper Beastman kit. We got the Beastmen that came in Blackstone Fortress. They're part of the 40k Chaos, Renegades, and Heretics stuff in the background, but we finally have a kit now, and I just we're here. We're at the precipice of getting a Renegades and Heretics army, and it would be so cool because you've got the you could maybe do some Nightmare Hulk multi-part kit, the whatever the not Poxwalkers are called, the Gellerpox. You could take them and give them a multi-part kit, and you've then got a bunch of different types of infantry. You've got some zombie-like infantry. You've got some beastmen for the mutant type category, and then you've got your Trader Guard, which you've already got that box set, and then you just pop in the guard vehicles and maybe throw in an upgrade sprue that comes with chaos iconography or something that you can use on the guard vehicles, and you're most of the way there. You could include Chaos Spawn, which already have models. You can include a bunch of those cultist units that were released earlier this year, or at the earlier last year. You could take those and add them into your Renegades and Heretics options. So you could take that Dark Covenant, or the cultists that are being transformed into demons or what have you, and it all kind of fits into this Renegades and Heretics theme. And we have so much of the stuff, even just with the existing kits, you still have a ton of options for an army on that kind of lines. So it feels inevitable at this point that will happen, which would be really nice, because Trader Guard had a list for 7th edition and during 6th edition, and it just feels it would deserves to be a thing once again in the new edition. So it would be really nice if that's what we got. But regardless, these guys are just beautiful. The Votann look a lot of fun too. It's it's a standard kit with a upgrade sprue kind of deal, and I'm into that. Definitely down to try it out. I don't know. I'll probably pick it up. I mean, just look at these guys. Look at that little caster. The one with the robotic arm that's about to punch somebody. This is fantastic. And yeah, the terrain upgrade stuff looks nice. Yeah. Oh yeah, another Age of Sigmar release. More Stormcast. I don't hate the new Stormcast. They look weird and off-putting in a good way. But we've got the Tzeentch character from this. I really feel like they sat down and they said, all right, let's give the designer carte blanche to kind of do whatever they want. Really go weird with it. Give me some weird energy. That's what we want out of this particular project, because Tzeentch is supposed to be this so over the top chaotic, but what we get on the tabletop is very samey. So like, that's how you wind up with he's got arms for legs, and then his feet are holding like a, what is that? Like some kind of orb, and then he's got like a little like, I don't know, stinging tail or something. He's got little sad little attempts at wings. And then his buddies are just as wild. You've got the forearms, mouth, eye, as I deemed him a few weeks back. You've got the guy with the inappropriately placed tentacle who also has a mouth, eye. And then like, I don't know, like a Mirelurk leg is sticking out of his head, you know, like, all right. And then this like pink horror that like you put into the pink horror that you put into Midjourney in the back over there. What are these guys? I love it. This is the kind of stuff I wish we saw more of for Chaos. It's one of the reasons I like Warcry so much, is they like really are like, no, Chaos is like, everybody comes to Chaos differently, and Chaos is a zillion different things. And so like, you know, you get, you know, the Rotmire people, and you also get the, you know, the snake people, and I don't know, I it works for me. And then there was this extended video previewing 10th edition, which is like the big reveal, and I'm very excited about some of the things that are going on with 10th edition, and not others. We'll get there in a second. But the video was great because it starts out like this, like, you know, super proud, kind of strong, this is what the preachers say, like, we're marching across the galaxy, you know, the Indomitus Crusade is undefeated, we're destroying our enemies, yada yada yada. And then as it like starts to proceed, Gilliman starts to sound more and more depressed as he's just kind of like, yeah, but like the reality is that we are getting absolutely deluged by Tyranids at a time that we can't afford to be fighting like a massive number of Tyranids. And so I'm pretty into the, you know, the kind of turn from like, you know, the implacable Imperium is indominant to like the Imperium is on its back feet, and you know, things are already in a dire situation. The Imperium Nihilus is basically lost. And so we get, you know, this sort of shift. Things get darker and, you know, scarier. But the Space Marines are, like, holding to the last or whatever, you know, because that's the one thing that they do. And then, of course, the Terminators show up, and we'll see in a moment. We finally have proper Terminators. I'm guessing... I haven't showed what's in the full box yet. I'm guessing a Terminator Librarian will be in the box as well. I'm really... hopeful that will be the case, because I could totally use a new Terminator Librarian to go along with my Imperial Fists Terminators that I built. And I have a Chaplain and a Captain, but I really need a Librarian. And of course, new Tyranids also is exciting. You don't really notice how old some of these kits are until you like sit down and look at them next to each other. So first off, the new Terminators, like, they have legs, you know, because if you've ever looked at a Terminator and thought about like the proportions of like the lower leg to their like thigh, it never made any sense. And here they finally fixed that anatomy, and also like kind of bulked up the thighs a lot. And you've got, you know, this very fantastic, you know, it's the classic Terminator details and silhouette, just beefier in a way that, you know, really I think is it's funny because I feel like a lot of people will look at them and go, they're just Terminators, because, you know, they match enough of the design cues that they're going to line up with what you're expecting to see, and you're just going to go process them. Your brain is going to go, those are Terminators, the same Terminators that I've always used, you know. And then when you actually kind of look at them next to one of the old Terminators, Suddenly you're like, oh my god, the old Terminators didn't have a torso, and the thighs were like mini thighs, and then they just like stretched and plumped, and it looks right. It looks right. And then you look at it next to the Intercessor, and you're like, it looks like a freaking bulwark, you know? It's massive. And that's exactly how they should feel. Because a Terminator is supposed to be big, even by, like, you know, Space Marine standards. So the fact that they were smaller than Primaris Marines was just silly. And this is why a lot of people have turned to kind of 3D printing true scale Terminator stuff. Because, I mean, you know, this is what we've wanted the whole time. And of course, the new Termagants, they are, you know, at first glance, once again, you're going to look at these and you're going to go, like, yeah, I've seen Termagants before. Like, oh, this is a new kit? Oh, I didn't realize. But then you look at them next to the old kit and you see how fine the details are, see how kind of more emphasized the alienness of their proportions are, and like the claw looks so much better. Like it's mushy, you know. The other Termagant is mushy by comparison, and you just really see the way that this technology has evolved so much over the course of the last, you know, 2 decades. From, you know, this, I mean, this Termagant is the exact same model that I was buying when I got into the hobby in like 2007. So, you know, you've been playing with these for so long. The upgrade is, it's kind of like a shock when you see them next to each other, because you're so used to kind of seeing this, you know, this ugly one next to your Space Marines, and that's, you know, it just is what it is. They were Tyranids, and they looked pretty consistent, so nobody minded. But like now, it's just like, this is what they should have looked like. Yeah, and I think that's the end of the actual pictures that I have. But then there's an extended discussion about the next edition of the game, and I think it was interesting at a minimum. I'm not fully on board with the super simplified game concept. It has. I understand that it has certain appeal, but I honestly don't really get it personally. But I will switch over to the Safari page, and we can kind of deal with that. And yeah, so there's a new edition, a mind-blowing new edition of Warhammer 40,000 is coming. We've seen a hero return from the pages of history, a whole army of celestial lizards who had to peek at the humans of the mortal realms, but today's biggest news is a new edition of Warhammer 40,000. Totally new edition, and then this, you know, cinematic trailer that we just kind of talked about. And then the lore, you were foolish enough to believe that High Fleet Leviathan had been beaten for good at Ball. That was just the Vanguard. Now the rest of them arrived, and they've evolved. And so the Imperium is, you know, pushed to its limits. And yeah, it's only just getting started. So Leviathan is swarming from the west, which is a new thing, which is cool. And so, of course, there'll be a book. And one of the cool things about the Terminators, they said, is that they are not separated Firstborn and Primaris. You know, this is just a Space Marine that's been put, you know, has earned the right to wear Terminator armor. You know, they all kind of are mixed in together, which is great. And yeah, so I'm very excited that might finally be happening kind of more across the line. It would be really great if this like whole Primaris dichotomy thing just went away, because right now there's just too much Space Marine stuff. And I feel like a bolter is a bolter. It shouldn't be like a auto bolt rifle versus a bolt gun. And you know, it feels silly to kind of differentiate between these different pieces of hardware for these particular guys. So you know, the Terminators look lovely. The models look lovely, but the game, and this is the part that's interesting, big changes to gameplay, completely overhauled, and so they're trying to slim it down more because it's overcomplicated. Now, I don't know. So, like, on the one hand, to not have to learn all the cruft that's kind of latched onto the edition over the course of 8th and 9th, I understand the appeal of that. But I'm worried this is going to continue this oversimplification, because what I want is much more detail out of these games. So it's probably not going to jive with me. But the cool thing that they're doing is that the new edition, the data sheets are all going to be available online for free from day one, the same way that Wahapedia is. And that's a big change, and it's one that I think makes a lot of sense because they can't get rid of Wahapedia, so you might as well beat them at their own game and do something better, if you're the company that is doing it. So hopefully the data sheets are presented in a way that's as good as, kind of the presentation on Wahapedia. Otherwise, I'm sure Waha will, adapt and come, with these new data sheets and stuff. So there's that. So it looks like movement, toughness, save, wounds, leadership, and OC has to do with taking objectives, objective control. And, you've got your ranged weapons. The ballistic skill is potentially going to change based off of the weapon, and same with weapon skill. That's something that they've taken from Kill Team, and they're going to bring over, and I don't mind that. I think that's interesting. I think that they mentioned that the psychic phase is going away and that psychic powers are just going to be different rules on data sheets, and then like the whole thing about like manifesting a psychic power and then having to deal with perils of the warp and all that stuff is the kind of minutia and detail that I want out of a game. And I really like the idea of psychic powers being a discipline, and there's a bunch of different options. I miss kind of the old ways on this stuff. In 7th edition there was a vast variety of different spells that each psyker could choose from. I think it was like 7 spells in each discipline, and psykers would potentially be able to access multiple disciplines. And I really liked the way that worked, that kind of system. But this will be simpler. So if you want to play like really big games, you want to do kind of a, what's it called? What is it called? If you want to do, more of an apocalypse kind of thing, I think it'll be very doable. And then they're saying that the data sheets will be free to download, and that it'll be available as card decks, and that everything will take up a few pages. So on the one hand, I don't like this change in that, like, to me, what I want is lots more options. I like to have tons of war gear, and I like to have lots of special rules and that kind of stuff, because it makes the armies feel more kind of immersive and like they're very much their own kind of thing. And I worry about slimming everything back the way they kind of have with Kill Team. I don't know. I'm not fully sold on the changes, but I think that the change to doing it as all free online kind of approach, great idea. And if they keep that up throughout the edition, that would be fantastic. That would leave more room in the books for crusade stuff, which does, can be specific to each campaign and, not have to be something that everyone needs to buy, but still give you a reason to pick the book up. And that could be, more space and room for you to put all of that stuff, the narrative into the tabletop, as opposed to kind of using a bunch of the space in the books for updated rules for different armies, which was inefficient and messy. And so that change is good. I would love to see them take a similar approach to handling the Necromunda rules, for example, like having all of the weapon traits available as like one document, or even in an application or a web page that you could hover over the special rule and it would give you the text. I mean, that kind of stuff's been available for a long time, and we still don't really have that, and it's frustrating. It would be nice to have all the Necromunda rules in one place. So, hopefully this represents more of a sea change for the company on this front, and we might actually see this stuff. We'll see. I'm not going to hold out hope. There's force organization charts are back, so there's that. And yeah, I don't know. The fact that Combat Patrol will be like a separate game mode is kind of cool, because of course I have a Combat Patrol of several different armies that I wouldn't necessarily want to play at like company scale. So being able to kind of bust out what's left of my Chaos Demons forces for each god, or one of my Space Marines, or my Genestealer Cult, or my Orcs, and be able to just play a game with a simple format where everything kind of just works. I could see doing that. I might pick up the Sisters of Battle, start collecting just to be able to kind of play them. So I could see, not start collecting a Combat Patrol. I could see this, working for GW in the long run. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm into that. So overall, I mean, I'm not completely blown away by the new edition. Just from what we know so far, I'm sure that it will be better than what you have to deal with in 9th right now, but that is not exactly, it's kind of damning with faint praise, I guess. But there you have it. So that's the Adepticon preview. I think they announced a book for Warhammer 40k, but that was kind of light on particulars, so I went ahead and just left that to its own. So I'm not completely sold on this so far. I'm fully on board with the Kill Team stuff, and I think the Lion looks great. And yeah, we'll see where this all kind of develops. I'm excited to see the game evolve. Hopefully, I'll since the rules will be free, I'll take out one of my armies and give it a try. Sometime this summer, maybe we'll do some quick and dirty battle reports with the new edition, or we'll see. So with that, of course, everybody out there, thanks to my patrons. You guys make this show possible, and of course, if you would like to become a patron, you can do so for as little as $2 a month on patreon.com/domerunners. And of course, the show has a podcast. And coming next week, I'm going to have a new episode of the podcast that will include the first ever crossover podcast episode / video on the channel release that I've done. So I'm stoked to kind of do that. Thanks as always to Whitebat Audio for the show's music. And with that, everybody out there, please stay safe and don't forget to change your paint water.